The night the storm swallowed Highway 41, the world thought Maria Keller would never make it out alive. She was 34, a firefighter from Flagstaff, Arizona, and the kind of woman who never introduced herself as brave, though everyone else did. What she carried was not fearlessness, but a stubborn promise she had made to herself when she was 16, ***, never walk away from someone who still has a chance. Maria grew up in a small trailer on the edge of the desert with a mother who worked 2 jobs and a father who walked out when she was 9. She learned early that life didn't hand you strength, life forced you to build it. She practiced that strength in silence, helping neighbors with busted air conditioners, volunteering at the local shelter, running miles before the sun even touched the red rocks. By the time she joined the fire academy, she'd heard every sentence meant to shrink her: "You're too small. You're too slow, this job isn't for women." She never yelled back, she just trained harder. When men twice her size dropped their gear in exhaustion, she kept running. When the chief said the fire line was no place for hesitation, she learned to breathe in heat the way others breathed in air. Her first year on the job, she witnessed something that stayed with her forever, the kind of moment that sharpens the edges of a person's soul. They responded to a house fire in West Flagstaff. Inside, a young mother was trapped behind fallen beams. Maria tried to reach her, crawling through smoke, forcing her way past snapping timber. But the fire grew too fast, the ceiling collapsed, and by the time her team pulled her out, Maria had burns across her shoulders and a promise seared into her heart: ***, never freeze. Not when someone else is counting on you. Years passed and Maria became known for her calm in chaos. She didn't brag, she didn't break. She simply showed up every time, ready to carry weight that others couldn't. Then came the call that would make her name echo far beyond Arizona. On a cold November night, a bus full of high school students crashed while crossing the mountains near the Utah border. A sudden storm hammered the highway, covering the road in black ice. The bus skidded, rolled twice, and hung half-dipped over a ravine. Snow slammed sideways like fists. Wind howled so loud you couldn't hear your own heartbeat. Maria arrived with the first engine. The scene looked unreal, metal groaning, the bus swaying like it was breathing. Inside, flashlights flickered as terrified kids pounded against windows fogged with their own breath. The captain shouted that the bus could fall at any second. "We wait for backup," he yelled over the storm. But Maria saw a girl pressed against the back window, her hand smeared with blood, her lips forming a single word: "Please." Maria didn't wait. She tied a rope to her waist, clipped 2 carabiners, and stepped onto the icy slope. The wind shoved her sideways. Snow punched her face, her boots slid with every step. But she kept going, anchoring herself with each movement, lowering her weight so the gusts wouldn't hurl her into darkness. Her radio crackled: "Keller, get back, the bus is shifting." But she kept moving until she reached the emergency exit. She used a pry bar to force it open. She climbed inside and felt the entire vehicle tremble like a giant animal ready to collapse. The kids were crying, holding one another. Some were injured, broken arms, bleeding foreheads, twisted ankles. The driver lay unconscious against the steering wheel. "Hey," Maria said, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. "I'm getting all of you home. One at a time, nobody moves until I call you." She worked fast. She helped the smallest kids first, securing each one to the rope and signaling rescuers to pull them across the ice. She checked every pulse, every bruise. Every breath. She cracked jokes to distract them, kept their hope alive with simple words like, "You're tougher than this storm, I promise." Halfway through the rescue, the bus lurched. Everyone screamed, metal ripped. Snow exploded through broken windows. The bus was falling. Maria threw herself forward, bracing her back against the aisle seats. She shouted for everyone to hold on. The vehicle slid 6 feet, but miraculously caught on a rock ridge. Her hands shook for the first time that night. But she didn't stop. She kept moving, kept hauling, kept saving. One girl refused to leave without the driver. "He saved us when the bus started skidding." She cried, "Please don't leave him." Maria crawled to the front. The driver wasn't breathing steadily. His pulse was weak. The steering wheel had crushed part of his chest. Removing him could cause more injury. But leaving him wasn't an option. She wrapped the rope under his arms and whispered, Stay with me, okay? Your kids are waiting at home. She dragged him inch by inch. Her shoulders screamed in pain. Her gloves tore open, her arms burned. But she pulled with everything she had. When she finally got him to the exit, the bus gave one final groan, a deep, hollow sound that told her time had run out. Maria clipped the last carabiner onto her belt, hooked herself to the rope with the driver's weight slumped against her chest, and shouted, "Pull." The rescuers hauled them both across the ice as the bus slid, and then vanished into the ravine below. The thunder of its fall echoed for a long, heavy moment. Maria lay on the snow, panting, her breath rising like smoke. Her muscles trembled, her heartbeat thundered in her ears. But every student was alive, the driver too. In the hospital the next day, news crews gathered outside. Everyone wanted to talk to the woman who refused to wait. The woman who marched into a falling bus as if she'd been chosen to carry strangers from the edge of death. When reporters asked her if she considered herself a hero, she shook her head. Bravery isn't about being fearless. She said it's about being willing to go forward even when every part of you is screaming to turn back. The story spread across the country. Schools sent letters, families visited the station with homemade pies. Firefighters from across the U.S. called to say she had reminded them what courage really looked like. But Maria didn't chase the praise. She went back to training, back to early morning runs, back to polishing her boots before every shift. Because to her, saving lives wasn't about recognition, it was about responsibility. A year later, one of the students she rescued wrote her a letter that she kept folded inside her locker. It read, "When I have kids someday, I'm going to tell them there was once a woman who stepped into a storm for people she didn't even know. And because of her, I grew up. Because of her, I'm still here." Every time Maria read it, she smiled the same quiet, humble smile she always had. And she'd whisper, "That's all the reward I need." Maria Keller never asked to be called brave. She simply lived a life that made bravery impossible to ignore. She reminded the world that courage doesn't always roar, sometimes. It walks straight into danger with steady hands, a fierce heart, and a promise it refuses to break.